three powerful identities: orphan, protege, murder. How does the concept of a doppelganger ties these seemingly roles together?
Yeah. So the whole idea of a doppelganger, that's the German word for a double, meaning two similar or identical people. And in the novel, the main character is a scientist who has been creating really advanced technologies, and he has a secret project that he's working on called Doppelganger, in which he can download his mind into a cyborg machine. So a kind of perfect replica, but one that is digital and also robotic, so therefore potentially very powerful. But he's just working on this project, and he thinks he's in the middle of it whenever he awakens one morning thinking life is normal, and he's simply working on the project. And he discovers that he's actually been murdered. He was murdered 4 days earlier, and he is the doppelganger. He is the double, and now he has to solve his own murder. In the course of solving his own murder, he discovers all sorts of other things that mean sort of the end of the human race unless he can stop it. So it's a murder mystery, and it's also, near science fiction set in 2065. And it's built pretty heavily on a lot of uh, the work that I did in my other books, nonfiction books.
Interesting, Mr. Chip. So, what was the initial spark for this story? What is the character, a thematic question about identity, or the chilling premise of a doppelganger itself?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what happened was many years ago, I was talking to a scientist named Hans Moravec, who was the head of robotics at Carnegie Mellon University. And he said, someday, he was the first scientist to say that someday we will be able to download a human mind into a machine. And I thought, well, so what if, like an old floppy disk, what if you backed that person up and they were that person on a Friday, and then on a Sunday they were murdered, or on a following Friday they were murdered, and they woke up one day not knowing what happened to those 5 days, and why they were murdered. And so I just kind of built on that concept, and that raises all kinds of questions about the next stage of human evolution. What is identity? What is a human being versus a machine? Is it possible to be one or the other? How does it affect your ability if you are a machine? How does that change the way you see the world? What powers do you have? How do you use those powers? And all this is wrapped in a mystery. And there's lots of twists and turns in the story, and of course there's a lot of political, corporate espionage involved, and everything. But at the heart of it, it's, wow, I've been murdered and I can solve my own murder. How do I do that? And what is the story behind it?
Yes, what is the story behind that we need to uncover, Mr. Chip?
Exactly.
The doppelganger is often a harbinger of doom in folklore. How did you approach modernizing this ancient archetype for contemporary thriller?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of take science, real science, or science that was heading in a real direction, and give it an almost fantastical touch. So that I think it was Arthur C. Clarke said that any sufficiently advanced technology looks like magic. So that's a lot of what kind of happens inside the book. And he has to solve, so many different sides of himself and so many different sides of the mystery. But he has lots of tools to do that. He also, in the book, he has himself, a previous version of himself that can talk to him and help him. So I saw that this was both dark but possibly optimistic, because it was really, if we advance to a point where we can meld with our machines, are we going to be more human? Are we going to be more humane? Or are we going to be more machine-like? And will we be all about efficiency, but not really about creativity and heart and caring? So these are all issues that the book enables me to explore. At the same time, it's a fast-moving adventure, mystery.
Yes, to be humane or to be a robotic or something we need to ponder. How do you explore the nature versus nurture debate through the lens of orphan prodigy? Is there a genius, a product of circumstance, or something inherent?
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the interesting things about being able to download a human mind into a machine, because there are characters in the book called ENT, ENT, for it's short for agent, or uh, you know, um, sentient. So those characters are 100% digital. They've evolved in a digital world. They see the world differently, because they didn't evolve the way we did. And that's a big question. That's a big question in my other writing and books, about what in our evolution makes us the way we are, what twists and turns in evolution shaped us to be the remarkable creatures we are. I mean, there are no other animals that build cities and make rockets and go to the moon. So, and there's certainly no other animal that creates a technology where you can create a replica of a human being. So, you know, a central question in the book is, when Ents, basically there's a conflict between the Ents and him, and he is part machine and part human. How does he battle that? How does he handle that? And how do they see the world versus how do we see the world? And so that's part of the much bigger picture in the book, that goes beyond the mystery itself.
Beyond the mystery for sure, Mr. Chip. And on character and psychology, which was more challenging to craft, the psychology of the prodigy or the menace of the double ganger? How do the inner worlds differ or mirror each other?
Yeah. Well, when I originally wrote the book, my first draft of the novel was just the mystery. And there's an important aspect in the mystery that has to do with his personal life, and is related to what ultimately happens when he's murdered. And I realized, in order to make that ending really pay off, I needed to go more deeply into his story. So I actually I wrote a whole new section just about his childhood, where he came from, how he was shaped. He was an orphan in a post-pandemic world, so he kind of came up from nothing. And how does that happen? And how does he create the technologies that he creates? What kind of a kid was he? And how did he grow and evolve as a human being? At the same time, creating these technologies that were radically different and advanced digital technology. And ultimately, all ends up to him converging with health, literally, in this doppelganger, and also having to confront the world that he, process of creating, advanced digital world that kind of emerges out of a post-pandemic world. He's a big player in changing and advancing things after the pandemic, because he's the chief scientist of the most powerful company in the world.
Yes, indeed. Powerful, powerful. And a story about duality. How did you ensure your protagonist felt like a fully integrated, complex person and not just a symbolic figure?
Yeah, I think that writing his backstory was an important part of that because it humanized him. Uh, you see him not only living in a world of 2065, which is much more advanced, but you see him growing up in the post-pandemic world where he is living with 3,000 other kids in an orphanage, and how does he get out of that orphanage? What shapes him? How does he use his intelligence to uh, make life easier for himself, but at the same time become that person, uh, the chief scientist of the world's most powerful company? Uh, so I think that that backstory was really important to humanizing him, making and helping people understand, um, you know, why is he the way he is, and how does he deal with the world the way he deals with it? And I found that people really love this book because he comes across as a really full-blooded, complex character that isn't simply a machine, or it's not just about adventure and action, although there's plenty of that, but it's also about what internal conflicts is he having as he deals with being a completely different creature, a unique creature. There are no other creatures in the world that are part machine and digital and part human. So how does he deal with that? And that I think is an important part of the story, because it's part of the internal conflict he has in attempting to solve not only his own murder, but stop the advance of these technologies could destroy humanity.
Mr. Chip, can you discuss the role of trauma and memory in shaping identity, especially when the identity might be shared or stolen?
Hmm. Uh, yeah, that's a really interesting idea. Wait, so tell me the question again, because that's complicated. Yeah.
So, Mr. Chip, can you discuss the role of trauma and memory in shaping identity, especially when the identity might be shared or stolen as a doppelganger?
Right, right. Okay, so his whole view of the world is, of course, shaped by his being an orphan, by dealing in a difficult world where he has to use his intelligence and wit to basically save himself and then to get out of this orphanage. And so that, I think, there's a ton of trauma that takes place. I mean, he loses his mother when the day he's born is when he loses his mother. So he is searching for his mother. That's part of the story, and trying to understand why this happened to him. He has to deal with all the trauma of a post-pandemic world and living in this orphanage with other kids that are pretty rough. And this helps him become the person that he becomes. It makes him tougher. It makes him smarter. Uh, but it also makes him, more aware of the pain that other people feel. And then when he becomes a machine, he can be compromised. And this is a part of, later in the book, where he is dealing with ents who can essentially hack his mind because he's digital. So they can steal, things, or they can cause kind of digital hallucination. And so those are all things that he has to deal with as he battles this, who is really kind of hacking his and messing with his mind while he's trying to solve this mystery.
Mr. Chip, as an author, what are your short term and long term goals?
Well, I love Doppelganger. I love having the book out there. Big battle in any book is, there are, I think, 13,000 books a day that are published. So getting the book in front of people is key. Uh, when people read the book, they seem to love the book. Reviews of it are, really positive. So that's my short-term goal. I'm also working on another novel called Whiteout, and that's a mystery set in the Arctic. And I'm planning to write a sequel to Doppelganger. But generally, I have a long list of novels that I've been wanting to write for some time, but was too busy writing nonfiction. And I just decided, well, I'm going to stop writing nonfiction. I'm going to focus on novels. And so that's what I'm doing. Now, at the same time, we're doing this. My wife and I are traveling all 7 continents, but never by jet. So we've been doing this now for 4 years. And in between, I'm writing books, but I'm also writing about our travels. And I'll have several books that'll be coming out about those travels. And we are now into the 6th continent and the 4th year, going into our 5th year. And we hope in a year to be done and get to the 7th continent, which is Australia.
Australia indeed, down under. And good luck to your goals and looking forward for more success, Mr. Chip. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
You know, um, sometimes I think I was just too stupid to do some of the things that I've done. uh, I'm an optimist. So, early on in my life, if I would say, well, I want to write magazine article, I would try to write magazine articles and get them sold. You know, the same thing with documentaries, or writing screenplays, or even writing, the novel that I've written. I just, it's My advice is go for it. Believe in yourself. Uh, if you have a dream, sit down, figure out a path to getting to that dream. You might have to plow through a lot of hard work to get there, but if you really want it, that's what you do. And I've been in situations where I've had plenty of money and where I've had no money, and either way, you just have to get up every day and do the thing you love. And for me, that's getting up every day. Right now, I'm either traveling or writing, and even when I'm traveling, I'm writing all the time. So uh, that's my advice. Go for it. You know, Believe in yourself.
Yes, go for it and stop procrastinating, people.
Yes, yes.
Do it. Just
Do it.
do it.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
And you know
Do
what?
it.
Maybe a part of that is an important part of that is for people to understand it's okay to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes, but that's the way you learn. Just make sure you learn from those mistakes. Don't get in a loop and keep going around doing the same thing again and again. And that means, don't procrastinate. In fact, I'm just writing a blog piece about that. It's like the horror of facing a blank page as a writer is, it's horrible. It's scary as hell. But the only way that you're going to get through it is to get some words down. And even if they're horrible, so what? At least you have something on the page.
Yes, definitely. And thank you for that advice, Mr. Chip. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Uh, Books that I've read that are influencing.
Yes,
Uh,
please.
oh, wow. Boy, there's so many. I'm a big fan of any book by Lewis Thomas, a great scientific writer. Lauren Isley. Um, in terms of novels, right now, because I'm working on mystery, I love Raymond Chandler's stuff. I thought Silence of the Lambs was an excellent piece of work. But and of course, read Shakespeare, read Dickens, read the classics, read Mark Twain, uh, and if you want to be a writer, then you've got to spend most of your time either reading or writing, and the rest of the time you spend with your family.
Yes, and thank you for the recommended book, Mr. Chip. So, If you had to summarize the book's central question in one line, what would it be?
The central question for the book:
Yes, please.
who are you? And how did you get that way? And how do you use that to shape your life?
Yes, who are you? Who I am. So, Mr. Chip, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season. Abstract poetry in second season. I'm my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in sixth season this summer. Geography 101 love letters, movie 101 review in its fourth season. Music 101 likewise. Science 101, sex 101, second season of my baby podcast. Law 101, mental health 101, and coming this December, Entrepreneur 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your
Wow, you're a busy
podcast.
guy.
I'm so busy, Mr. Chip, and thank you for well, be part of my busiest days of my life.
That's right.
So, tell us now that the book is out in the world, what has been the most surprising or rewarding reaction from the reader about this book of yours?
Uh, I just was really happy to hear that people loved the story. I mean, a lot of people came back and said, "Wow, I couldn't put it down." Once I started reading, I was there for 5 hours. Just turning the page. And I always say that my only job as a writer is to make sure you want to turn the page, whatever it is I'm writing, whether it's science, whether it's a screenplay, whether it's you know a novel or short story. That you want to know what happens next. And if that's what I'm accomplishing, then I've done my job. And that's the reaction that I've been getting. People, get 4.5 out of 5 stars on the book, and people just come back again and again and say, "Wow, I just love the story. I love the character. I loved the twists. The plot twists. I love the." Some people love the science fiction part of it. Some people love just a lot of people just like the whole world that was created, because it's not the world today, but it feels like it could be a world in the future. And they felt that was really realistic. At the same time, it was kind of fantastic. So I'm just thrilled that people have been enjoying it so much.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing to the world, Mr. Chip. Thank you
Thank you
for sharing
for the
your
opportunity.
knowledge. Yes, for knowledge and wisdom you shared to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your new book?
Yeah, yeah. Hope by summer we'll have Whiteout out, and I think they'll find that to be a really compelling mystery that's set in, just as Doppelganger is a mystery set in the future, in a kind of make-believe world. Whiteout will be in a world that not very many people know about, the Arctic, and the kind of life that people live up in the Arctic, and what can happen whenever murder takes place in a town like that. And I think you'll find this character, Schuster McCoy, the main character, a fascinating woman.
A fascinating woman indeed. Some people support Mr. Chip Walter because if you support him for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. Chip, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Monica people, see you soon.